according to the mass newspaper, Hakainde Hichilema has breached the constitution. He lost the right to seek a second term. That's according to John Sangwa. So John Sangwa is attributed to have uttered that statement. Probably there was some sort of public debate that was taking place yesterday, where he had given a speech. So the mass newspaper quotes him to say the sitting president Hakainde Hichilema had breached the constitution. So the details of that are probably published in that, and John Sangwa is the best person that stands to highlight that. And then Tayali says, "Our mundane, what's the point of being a Christian nation when you cannot forgive and being highly superstitious?" And then he goes further. He's talking about that demand that has come from the Lungu family to say they don't want to see the Republican president next to the remains of Edgar Lungu. So Chief Tayali asks, say, they want to use the body parts like really, we can do better. So he's simply jabbing at the Lungu family to say, instead of speculating about things that have no grounding in reality, it's better they just unite and be Christians. But on the other hand, if you may remember, around the same time last week, when just before the court injunction was submitted in the Pretoria court, where Attorney General had submitted to stop the burial that was supposed to take place in South Africa on Wednesday. President Hakainde Hichilema was meeting a number of CSOs at State House. And then in one of those engagements, they are talking about butane, the one that was simply rude to say it needs to have a broader consultation process with the general public. So as he made a statement, he highlighted one of the things to say, why is it that at his time as president, there is that almost the level of hate that you can even taste, like you can feel the level of hate. And then he asks, is it because of his tribe kind of thing? So it's that statement that has prompted Hot FM CEO or the boss at Hot FM, the radio station, to issue a statement with regard to that particular statement. So because the president was asking the CSOs to say, because if you look back, the PF had made constitutional amendments, the 2016 amendments, and then prior to that, he highlighted a number of people that had made changes to our constitution. Why is it that they did not face the same level of backlash and hate that him as a sitting president is it facing? I mean, he was facing during that process. Is it because of where he comes from? That's where that was the main statement coming from the head of state. To which the Hot FM CEO responded. He put up an article just a couple of hours ago. Obviously, it has been quoted by different people. Mao Sampas has quoted it, but he has put his own spin there. Say Hakainde Hichilema crying tribal victimism. Each time his political mingalato backfires. That's according to Mao's Sampa. But that's not the article that came from Oscar Chavala, the CEO from Hot FM. This is what Oscar had to say. So he put up an article to say, thinking out loud, or thinking aloud. And then he highlights his history. I was brought up by my older brother, JB's home. After my father passed away in October 1981, I spent my childhood and teenage years in that home, and many times things were all right, but there were times when I was made to feel unwanted and despised. I was called names, and many at the times I've forgotten. Many at the time I've forgotten. And then there were years I did not have a uniform for the new academic year, and I did not understand why until later. Until later, it wasn't true, or it's not one of them. I wasn't one of them. He goes to say. So he likes his history to say, I'm an Easterner or a Tumbuka, if that helps. We are deeply patriarchal. So my default, we get to look at after nieces, nephews, grandchildren, but by default we get to look after nieces, nephews, and grandchildren, and even non-relatives in one home, and it doesn't feel strange to me. It doesn't feel strange to me. It is who I am. I am, however, extremely sensitive and particularly, partiality and discrimination of any kind, either in my own home, around me, and I see it from miles away. My policy is to always nip it in the bud as soon as it rears its ugly head. So he says. So now he addresses the head of state. He calls him P1. Pretty much, the president is called by different names. Ego 1, P1 acronyms, pretty much referring to. So he says, I heard P1 the other day speaking to invited CSOs at State House, and he spoke about how he is the pariah, and went as far as using words, using the word animal on himself in his lamentation. He used extreme language to depict himself as a victim of tribalism. My heart sank. I couldn't believe what he said, and the reference he used. I found it in bad taste. That's Oscar. He goes further to say, I walked Vetamp along Chachacha Road in central town in Osaka in 2011 and found the owner, a Zambian of Asian origin, racially abusing an old employee who had made some sort of a mistake. My heart hurt, but I did tell him that after a moment, I will never buy anything from his shop, even if he was the only supplier of broadcast and electronic equipment. And it's been 14 years now. I've never stepped a foot in his shop. Particularly, partiality can never be excused. When Nyela and the CG of ZRA were caught in such a dog whistling in a recording conversation years ago, I personally called it out. Butane was a mess and everything of, Butane was a mess and everything or anything he, P1, referring to President Hakainde Hichilema, said was scathing of the PF leadership, and demanded the withdrawal of it from Parliament at every turn. The bill lamentably failed in Parliament, largely due to the pressure of the same CSOs he was meeting the other day. Bill 7, this is the new bill that's recently just which failed pretty much. Bill 7 is sort of Bill 10 somehow. And it was bound to attract the same attention, if not more, especially that it was coming from him, the man who opposed Bill 10 with every might. Tribalism is a cancer, and it divides the people and destroys the nation. It must never be left to fester or given oxygen to grow in any way. It is extremely insidious. With the potential of undermining national unity, it therefore is therefore indefensible for the head of state to speak in that tone and reference to himself. And then he goes further. Let me just expand this. In reference to himself, this nation must be held together by all of us. So simply, that's a statement coming from Oscar Chavula, Hot FM boss there, simply saying it was in bad taste for the president to refer to himself in that nature. One is Fred Membe says Bill 7 has fallen, it is dead, referring to that statement. And then Chief Tayali responds, you are now mocking Hakainde Hichilema over Bill 7. Are you sure you have defeated him? This is how you bring out the Western people. Who are you to think you can stop the president? That's Chief Tayali. He goes further to say, if Hakainde Hichilema wanted the bill to go through, it would have. Because not even the Constitutional Court would have stepped in. If he knew about the judgment before it was pronounced, it means he has the chance to stop it. But you think you are powerful, and are you sure? You might be taking yourselves into a trap. That's Chief Tayali responding to Fred Membele and everyone else that is celebrating the fall of Bill 7. there. And then he says to PF to renew, asking me to come back home and praying that I will I will be stranded so that I can come back home and be jailed. I will come back home when God will. Surely, when God's will secure my freedom. And then he was dancing to some coffee music there to say, "Hey, I'm not coming back home anytime soon." To those. Then again, it seems like he's going through some what you call it, bipolar episodes where then was some quiet. I would only I miss home when I would have loved Chapatwa, Mateveto. You're simply saying, I wish I was home because he's missing his food there. But then again, he was like, no, when they think I miss home, he puts up a picture of him chilling with girls in whichever country he's in. It looks like an Asian country. And he says, no. He's having an episode, Chukatari. I don't know whatever he's going through, but yeah, he's contradicting himself. He says he didn't miss home, then he posts pictures. It's one of those things where, like, someone, you get dumped by the girl that you want, and then now you start overcompensating by sleeping around or being around a lot of girls to prove a point that you can get any other girl. But in reality, what you want is that particular girl that has dumped you. That's what is depicting here. So he's saying, no, here. Anyway, and then the Daily Nation, Concord Hots Bill 7, obviously the same news there. MP for 9 months. The new Lumezi member of parliament will only be an MP for 9 months before we have to go to elections again. That's according to Real Times. Concord Hots and constitutional amendment consult. So that's in the news diggers, and that's the news, ladies and gentlemen.